those are kind of the ways to come up with good questions. You use the arguments you've already prepared, turn your arguments that you already have into questions themselves, and make sure you don't ask open-ended, but ask questions about the things that just pique your interest as you're listening to their case. So finally, let's talk about the goals when you are being asked questions. So this is the very last thing. When you are being cross-examined, how do you attempt to win the round? Because sometimes when you're being cross-examined, it's the hardest time because you don't know what they're about to ask. You want to be truthful, but at the same time, you want to try to make sure you're still supporting your case. So how do you go about doing that? The first thing you want to do is clarify your position. Make sure that anytime their questions give you a chance to say, well, I don't think you really understand my second contention. Explain it and use those opportunities to clarify. So if they ask a question and they say, well, aren't you putting every juvenile into the adult system? You say, well, no, I'm explicitly excluding juveniles who don't have violent felonies. That's what the resolution calls for, or that's what my plan text explicitly calls for. And so you're making sure that that's clear to everybody. The second thing you want to do is advance your position. Advance your position. So this means taking the position that you already have argued and giving it even more strength over the course of the round. And so during the cross-examination, if they ask a question, if they ask one of these open-ended questions, why do you think that juveniles charged with violent felonies should be treated as adults? Say, well, I have two reasons, and they actually are my two contentions, and then you explain it, and you give even more depth and strength in it. The next thing you want to do is answer efficiently. You don't want to say too much. Sometimes saying too much is when you're going to open yourself up to a problem. So you want to be efficient in how you answer. Answer efficiently. So don't say anything more than you need to say. So if they ask you a simple yes or no question, sometimes it's best to just say yes or no. Because if you start talking and going off, the next thing you know, you walk yourself down a merry little path into the place they wanted to get you, where they're going to open up an argument against you. Don't ramble. This is even worse than being inefficient. Do not ramble. No rambling. You should not just go on and on and on and on, because you're going to say something slightly different and they're going to use it or twist it so that at the end of the day you sound like you didn't win the argument. So don't ramble. The next thing you want to do is connect the questions to stronger parts of your case. So if they ask you a question about, juvenile recidivism, but you have a really interesting part of your case in a different contention, so maybe they're talking about contention one, they say, actually, if we look at this piece of evidence in the second contention, that explains the answer to your question. And so now suddenly you're helping to bring your whole case together and make it that much more compelling for your audience and for the judge. Don't get trapped. Now this is the thing that everybody's worried about. You get trapped, where they ask you a question and you have to answer the correct way, but at the end of the day, if you answer that way, you're hurting your case. What was your question? And so, don't get trapped. The last thing you want to do is get trapped. And the final thing is to be in control at all times.
Hey, you have that too.
That's right. So when you're asking and when you're answering questions, you want to be in control. Being in control is a lot harder when you're being asked questions, because you don't get to pick the questions. You don't get to decide how long that person stays on that topic. But you need to at least look like you're in control. And when given the opportunity to start advancing your other positions or clarifying your other positions, do it. So take advantage of those opportunities that you're given when they ask those types of questions that help you. So that's how we're going to do cross-examination. Are there any questions at all about cross-examination, about how we come up with good questions, about how we work on cross-examination, etc.?
Okay, so I need to think that's what I told you. I know it's something. So this right here, you have to be prepared for by yourself. It's not like practice.
Exactly.
Okay, so when you're preparing your case, it'll be wise to think of stuff that people might say, like a counter argument, and then go from there to maybe have notes on something that you could possibly say, like ideas during this. So, okay, so if somebody asks you a question and you have no cards and it's like the exact same question, so you could just look at the judge and then be like, because you already know.
Exactly. No, so the major objective during cross-examination is you already know you know your case so well that when they start asking questions to poke holes, you already have answers ready to go. So that's the real objective. Here's the drill we're going to do. Okay? So everybody flip your paper over. Okay, write the resolution at the top. Once we have the resolution at the top, I want you to write down 5 arguments for the resolution. And after you write your 5 arguments for the resolution, then you are going to, one at a time, get up and give it. You're going to give your 5 reasons. And then we're going to have the other 2 people cross-examine you. And they're going to go back and forth for 3 minutes. So each person is going to be cross-examined for 3 minutes. And because there's 3 of you, get to cross-examine for 3 total minutes. Because you're going to cross-examine for about 1.5 minutes of each person.
So each of us is going to think of 3 reasons why.
So you come up with 5 reasons why we should charge juveniles charged with violent felonies ought to be treated as adults in the criminal justice
I
system.
said 5 in my head, but it came out 3.
That's okay. So you have your 5 reasons. So you got your 5 reasons, and then 3 minutes questions. So the other 2 people are going to ask questions for 3 minutes. We're going to stand up the whole time and do it. Treat it just like a real cross-examination.